Sec, okay?
Okay. Yeah, what do you let me know what you need from me.
Printing and no gifts.
I think I saw you sent me the doc. Um,
Okay, welcome to the Tuesday Triggers podcast, y'all. We've got some people coming in. I'm going to get started here in just a second. We have a good session today with PWJ. So Patrick William Joyce, for those of you that don't know his name, I'm sure you've seen his content around LinkedIn. But we're going to be talking about what it takes to grow an agency, kind of riffing on what kind of hurdles and obstacles naturally like you run into at each phase of growth. Some automations that Patrick has built that have kind of made his life easier. And then just talk about the kind of state of the union with cold email, because I think things are increasingly difficult right now, and cold calling. And I think that I can offer some insights on the cold email part. Patrick can offer some insights on the cold calling part, and even some suggestions on maybe what to be using and what to be looking out for. So that being said, let's jump right into it. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Living the dream.
Nice. I am at Raleigh Durham Startup Week, and I have to present and give an hour-long presentation this afternoon. Someone invited me to come out and speak at it, so I am going back to back. First starting with you, and then practicing another hour-long presentation about cold email here.
So I'm about 2.5 hours down the road on Route 17. I'm in Elizabeth City, North Carolina.
You know what? As soon as we got on this morning, I thought about that. I was like, damn it, I should have reached out. Although it's been frantically chaotic this week.
It's a long enough drive that whatever. I'm not right there, but yeah,
Which direction are you?
east. So I'm
East.
I'm right near the water. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Dang, missed opportunity. But one of these days, man. So thanks for coming on. Again, a little bit more of an intro for those people that are just joining. So here's how I know you. In, let's say, 2020, that was about the time I think that thought leaders like Josh Braun, Justin Michael, some of these guys were at the peak of their game, and they were disseminating lots and lots of information on like how to be successful and how to write cold emails and great frameworks and all of that stuff. And you were there as well, and you know, being a thought leader, right? And talking about cold email. And in fact, I think a lot of the early frameworks in like 21 and 2022, were like PWJ frameworks. This is how you break in. This is how you pattern interrupt. This is what you say. And since then, you have, done a lot in the space in terms of sales leadership, leading teams, building SDR teams, building cold email systems. But I would love for you to give everyone kind of a quick introduction, maybe like a minute on the background of you. I think your origin story would be great, and we can jump into it from there.
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, the quickest and dirtiest version of the origin story would be I started as a high school math teacher. I wanted to get into tech, took a job as an SDR, and pretty much just crushed it right away. Like I before I ended up in one of the tech companies, I actually like sold life insurance on the side because I had talked to a couple of brokers and I wanted to know like I was working as an analyst at a group health brokerage. That was my first job outside of teaching. And I noticed that the brokers all had boats. Like these guys were like, they just had so much money. I was like, how do I get that guy's job? And they were like, you have to figure out how to cold call. You have to learn how to do cold calling. So I started out selling life insurance, like to these 4-year-old mortgage protection rates. So it was just so brutal, like so hard. You'd say life insurance, people just hang up. You have like 0 seconds on the phone. So I had to go book my own appointments and try to go close deals. So that's how I like that was my preview to joining the tech sales world. And I was like, oh, this is easy in comparison. So I bounced around at a few different companies. Ended up working at a few different agencies. Like I was freelancing for about 2 years full time, where I was like creating content for a handful of different agencies. There was like 5 different agencies where they were kind of white labeling my copywriting services. So they would go and sign the client, and then they would hand it to me, and then I would spit back, here's your sequence and here's your call script. So I got in a very condensed amount of time, like I got a ton of different looks at different companies, like trying to do outbound. And I got to see like what worked, what didn't work. That was right around the 2020 timeframe that you're talking about when you started seeing my name come up. Um, and like, I mean, I guess you could call me a thought leader there, but I've always been like kind of built my brand on like a guy that's in the trenches. So I wasn't just, lecturing from the ivory tower. I was like down in there doing it and like talking, like just talking about like, here's my journey, here's what I'm seeing, here's how I'm doing this. And I think the reason why like people still reference my email sequence frameworks and whatnot, I think I was also just good at um, I don't even want to say branding, but like systematizing how I was doing what I was doing. And I needed to systematize it in order to make it scalable. Because like I would have 12 companies in a week that I was trying to write email sequences for. And you can't send all of them the same copy. Like you have to find a way to differentiate it and do it quickly and like make it scalable, so that it, doesn't take up too much of your time. And so I think like that's where all that stuff that you're talking about came from.
Yeah, I think I can never see you preaching from an ivory tower. I think you will always be a, look, I'm in the trenches too. I'm like active in this. I'm doing this right now. I'm figuring it out. Just based on how I've always known you. Even like right now, I know that you're managing a team of SDRs or cold callers. So what are you doing now to kind of stay up to date, right? You are managing a team of something like, I don't know, 15 cold callers? Is that the kind of current thing?
There's actually 30 of them. So, we just hired an SDR manager. So when I first joined Level Up, my role was overseeing all of fulfillment. So we've got 4 customer success managers and 30 SDRs, all of which were reporting to me. And like, by the grace of God, like I got budget to go and hire an SDR manager, so that just to help me sort of differentiate between those two sides of the business, like helping with the client relation side, like building the strategy for the campaigns, and then like kind of taking the one-to-one coaching and task management part off of my plate, which has been a huge blessing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude, no one can have 30 direct reports and manage it effectively.
Yeah,
Like,
just so much. And
it's
then trying
impossible.
to figure out all of the clients that are on the roster. Like there was definitely a drinking from the fire hose phase for like 3 months where I was just my head was spinning, just trying to figure out what was going on. But I'm up to speed now, and I was just well suited for it. Like I've had the context switching as like part of my career. Like I've built up a skill set for being able to switch contexts really quickly.
So let's talk about when someone is. Here's some insight that I would love to start thinking about, and I think a lot of agency owners are starting to think about that. I think you can shine a little bit of light on for us here. So most of us are heavily steeped in cold email, right? We're all clay experts. We're all, using constantly talking about what tools we're using, but I think a rare few of us can bridge the gap into cold calling. And so even us as an agency right now, we're thinking about, hey, we would love to be adding additional cold calling for our clients, especially with the state of deliverability as it is. It's just, terrible right now. How could we potentially add a cold calling motion in for our clients in a more effective way? And we've done it before, and we do it for some of our clients. But talk to me about, like, if you saw an agency that said, hey, we want to add one, two, or three cold callers, how would you start by bringing them over? What would you have to set up? What tools would you have to bring in to kind of effectively manage that motion?
Yeah. Okay. So I would say that the connecting fabric between those two sides of outbound, cold email and cold calling, is the list, like the strategy. is the same, the thing that's the same on both sides. The better you are at building the list, the better your campaign is going to turn out, whether you're cold calling or you're cold emailing. And I think that the same is true in both, where even if you're bad at, like, even, people say a broken clock is right twice a day. And I think that that is especially true here. Like, if you put mediocre copy that lands in the inbox on a really good list, you're going to get a couple of meetings out of it. Like, if you
Yep.
pick up the phone and you're like, hey, I have this product or service, do you want to buy that? Like, you're going to bump into one or two people that are looking to buy something like that. And, like, you will go and get a couple of meetings there. Just to answer directly on the tech side. So number one, most important, like, in line with my, like, the list is the strategy kind of viewpoint here, is the data providers. Like how good are you at sourcing mobile data? And we spend a lot of money on that. So we've got Zoom Info, Sales Intel. We use like enrichment waterfalls via Clay. We've got Lucia. We've got Apollo. Like, name all the data providers. Like, we just need access to lists. Oh, also shout out to Ocean.io. Um, is another huge tool for us for building lookalike audiences. So, like, I can put in, 5 websites, and then they will go match me with a bunch of companies that look like that. That's been super helpful. So, like, the data component of it is really, really big. Like, you just need to be able to go and get like as many phone numbers as you can, really. And then the second one, like, we wouldn't be able to run our operation without parallel dialer. Like, we use Orem. Salesfinity is out there. Connect and Sell is another great one. Um, Connect and Sell is slightly different. It's more like human assisted dialing, but it's also just very, very strong. Um, but yeah, like, so our reps do 6 calls at a time, just rip 400 calls a day. And, Orem will patch you through to whoever answers, and then, like, throw the other numbers back in the list. And it's basically like how we're able to operate. So parallel, like, trying to do them one by one in 2025 is like a fool's errand.
Yeah. It's like everything. I mean, we talked about this earlier, but like, unfortunately, it is what it is. You got to fight fire with fire a little bit. So on the cold email side, you can't just have the scapular approach of sending out 50 cold emails a day or 20 cold emails a day where you read their case study. You have to do some of the volume as well, ideally good volume. But so if you were, let's say, for anyone that's like on right now and is like, hey, I want to try adding either like a cold caller or a basic cold calling motion, what are the tools that you would use to build to do like a kind of cost-effective build? Obviously, we can't just all go pop off on Zoom Info and not necessarily do I want to even support them, like so. What would be the tool like the tech stack you might tell someone to go get?
I'm with you. I would use lead magic. Like, go buy some lead magic credits, and then like a Clay subscription to go and then connect your API key, and you can get some really good data. I use it as like kind of like my second or third layer, where, like, I'm pulling the list out of the expensive filtering tool, just because the filters make it really easy for me to build a list quickly. And then whatever I miss there, I'll go and try to supplement with lead magic. But lead magic has been fantastic. It's like super cost effective. I find that the data quality itself is better than what you get out of Apollo. Apollo is also an option. Like, people, the same deal. Like, they'll just connect their API key through Clay. You can kind of like build lists quickly. You might not even need Clay at first. Like, you could probably just do this via CSV directly into either of those platforms. Like, you upload the contacts and go and try to see what numbers you get. But yeah, those would be my two, like, cost-effective tools.
Yeah. Clay and Lead Magic is what we use, and we also have some clients that we enrich lists for. And like I remember when we started with some, and we're just using Clay and Lead Magic, and their connect rate went up by like 20%. So again, it's kind of a no-brainer. Those are probably the most inexpensive one. Which dialer would you recommend?
I like using Orem. Like, I think if you wanted, like, something on the less expensive side, Phone Burner I've tried out has been really good. Like, for like an individual seat or something like that. Um, Let me think. There's this other one we tried called Trellis that has a HubSpot integration that is really nice. We actually use it specifically for one client that wanted to call out of their HubSpot instance, and we used Trellis, and it worked out really well.
Sure. How would you compare Clay versus Apify or Rapid API data?
I
Any
have
idea?
no idea. Literally have no
I mean,
idea. Not that
I'm
guy.
gonna pop some of these bad boys up on screen, and you can rapid fire. What
Yeah.
about
No,
Alloy? No
I
idea.
don't know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. Closed CRM is great. The power dialer works a treat. That's from Kai in the UK. Of course, he said it works a treat. So thank you for that very, very British insight of yours, Kai. Very much appreciated. Um, so here's the thing: is adding. So for people who aren't skilled in cold calling, how the hell would you go and add a cold calling motion to what you're doing?
Hire somebody that knows how to do it. Like number one, you could find fractional callers. See, there's this whole culture, especially like if you look on Twitter, there's a whole culture of people that are trying to stack outsourced SDR contracts. Like people that high level cold calling skills that don't want to go work at a product company because they know when you go work at one of these like mid market tech companies, yeah, you get a base salary, but you also get railroaded, or like you're just not set up for success, and you end up like feeling bad about yourself. So what they're trying to do is, instead of going and getting one job with a bigger company that's VC backed, they're going to like a handful of different founders and trying to like stack the contracts together and just work for themselves. So like you just find one of those people and like pay them a good chunk of whatever the fee that you're taking from the client, because they're going to be doing all the fulfillment. Now, the reason why that person's going to want to do this for you is because you have the data, you're building the list for them, you hand them your license to phone burn it. Like they don't have to go pay for all that stuff out of pocket or spend the time building the list. That's what's going to make it attractive to talent like that. But there's way more of it out there than I ever would have imagined. Like it,
Really?
yeah, yeah. There's plenty of people that you could hire, like hired guns that will just go and cold call for you. You just have to pay them like a fair bit. Like, I mean, they're trying to work for themselves. Like they're just trying to, like stack together contract here, contract there, and like put together, their bills for the month and start saving money just like the rest of us are. But yeah, there's plenty of people out there.
What about so I know that you've got a lot of experience in building like cold calling scripts and getting teams trained up on how to improve on cold calling. What's your advice for like maybe you could share some examples of things that you've built or some systems that will help people kind of scale some of this?
Yeah, the challenge in an agency context is trying to get your rep onboarded as quickly as possible and just like build a level of awareness. Like you can write a script for them and hand them the script, but I think everybody knows that if you just show up to a read the script, the person that's on the other end of the line is going to know that you're reading a script and it's not going to go out that well. Like you just need to be able to hold a conversation about the topic. Um, so yeah, like one of the systems that we built is like I engineered the onboarding form that we have our clients fill out to answer four very specific questions. Question one is, what are the pain points that you solve for your customers? Question two is, how do your customers currently solve those pain points? Like, what's the in? So I'm trying to get at like what's the delta there? Like, where's the gap? Um, the third question is like, what tech are they going to want you to integrate with? So what I'm trying to get across with that question is like, give me a lay of the land here. Like what is going to come up in conversation for my rep? And then the fourth one is like, what does your competitive landscape look like? So what other companies are trying to do this, and like how do you differ from them? And between those four questions, like once my client fills out an onboarding form with those questions on it, it kicks off an automation. Like I think it's through Zapier, that like takes those answers and runs them through like this custom prompt that I have in ChatGPT and makes me an SDR cheat sheet, I call it. So it's just like a one pager for the SDR. When they get assigned to a client, like they get this one pager so they can like in 5 minutes download like what is this customer all about that I'm about to start selling for. And then we even have another tool that I really really like called Itero. These guys are pretty early in their journey, but Itero allows for an AI practice environment. So I take those questions and then load them in. I create a persona in Itero, like based on the answers to those questions, and then it creates a bot that my reps can call against. So before they ever get on the phone,
Does it score them, or does it just kind of gives them the opportunity to bounce back and forth?
it does a lot. So yeah, it gives them the ability to bounce back and forth. It scores them on the call based on like your custom scorecard, and then it even allows you to like they have their own custom LLM model that's based on like cold calling best practices. It's like really extensive. You can like query your bot. It's like, what could I have done better on that call? Like, where did I struggle on this call? And it gives you like really super solid feedback and recommendations. So that, I mean, client signs the contract, fills out the onboarding form. 5 days later, I have somebody setting meetings for them on the phone. Like that's a
How do you
really
spell that
fast
one?
ITERO.
ITER.
It's iteroapp.ai is their website.
App.ai. That sounds awesome. 5 days is insane. I mean, how like what was the onboarding process for your clients before that and getting people up to speed? Like, how long did that take previously?
It so the actual onboarding process was a little bit longer, not by a ton, but there was also a lot more ramp up time for the rep. So I'm trying to reduce the ramp up time. We're like,
Yeah.
we schedule an onboarding call and then we schedule an SDR training call. And then the rep was basically interacting with the client for the first time on that training call. And then it's going to take them a couple of weeks to sort of like hammer out some of the details on the phone. And like the first month isn't as productive as the second month, just naturally. Right. But I'm kind
Yeah.
of condensing that 3 week period into like 5 days where we're getting up to the same level, like just much quicker based on the like the system that I built for this.
Yeah, what do you, so how, for you, you said you're managing 30 cold calling reps, which is absolutely insane in my mind. How are you judging them, or what kind of metrics are you hoping people hit? Or maybe what's the gap? Is it like based on meetings that they book a month? Because I'd love to just know, like, okay, if I hired like one cold caller to manage all of my clients and I gave them lists and I gave them a parallel dialer or two cold callers, what would be a good target for them to hit? What's a good reasonable amount? And I'm sure that that's a huge gap, but I'd love to get an understanding from your perspective of what success looks like.
It's an imperfect question. There is no way for me to like, especially in an agency context. Uh, there's a lot of
Yeah, because
unknowns.
it's like how many meetings can you get for one company versus another? And you're like, well, one company gets 200 a month, one gets five a month, and they're both happy with it.
Yeah, actually, the one that gets five a month might even be happier because they sell, a $250,000 ERP system or something like that.
Yeah,
Right? Like
yeah.
you get five meetings, they close one of those deals. It paid for you for the whole year. They're like, yeah, dude, as much as give me 5 meetings a month all year long. Like let's keep doing that. That's going to be a great channel for us versus like a low ACV, sort of like SMB mid market kind of transactional motion where they just need a lot more volume. Yeah, I mean, there's so much variation there. Like the two things that we sort of measure the SDRs on are you meeting the minimum deliverables? Like our contracts are structured in such a way that we guarantee a certain number of dials per day average. So are you meeting that like number of touch points? Now there's also a separate system in place to okay, they're making that many dials, but how many people are they connecting with? What's my connect rate? How many conversations are they having? If it goes too far below like 5% connect rate, like I start thinking about like, okay, like what do we need to do to put a fresh list in front of them? And then once I get a fresh list, the connect rate jumps up to like 10 or 12%. So for 400 calls, 5 to 10 connect rate, you're talking to between 25 to 35 people, something like that on average. And that's in one day. Like 25 conversations, man, that gives you a lot of feedback from the market. even if your list is like slightly imperfect, you have 25 conversations. If you're pointed in generally the right direction, like you should be able to find a meeting in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Man,
just
I think
that's how
I think there's going to be a huge shift back to cold calling here. I mean, maybe there was never a shift away. Maybe I was just less aware, but like I do think with all of the variables that we're up against on the email side, we're going to see a pretty big shift. What do you think?
um I don't know. I mean, like I feel like picking up the phone and calling somebody doesn't really go away, and I think that email doesn't go away either. Like I think that
Yeah.
those things exist in harmony. You know, dogs and cats living together. Yeah,
Love the analogies, man. You got some funny analogies. I dig it. Yeah, you're right. I just maybe the last couple of years I've felt like the efficacy of dialing has just gone down, and I think that people are getting sick of cold email and don't want to see their inbox. And I think there's maybe a slightly higher chance that people are more like, I don't know, shit, give me a cold call, I'll take one. It's been a while, like, you
yeah.
know.
I think that there is potentially like what you're pointing at is like kind of a pendulum swing in the meta, in the sales meta game, right? Like the way that people think about it and like the stuff that gets put out there. But um yeah, again, I think that cold calling has always been there, and cold email will always be there too. Like I think that those things kind of are smart to run in parallel.
When is letters coming back?
Oh yeah, my buddy Nate,
Mailing, baby.
he's big on the direct mail stuff. So this guy Nate, man, Outboundless, one of the coolest projects that I've ever worked on. He had these like he was creating like these custom like graphics with he was taking somebody's profile picture and like animating that into like Indiana Jones character or something, or like something from Star Wars, like putting them into an animation and then like printing it out on like this giant like cardboard box and like mailing it to the person. So like, I mean, you have to open it. It's
And
very like
I remember I've seen it because he had a game in there too. It was like a little game,
whole
like a
thing. Yeah.
thing. Yeah, that's
It's
Stu.
not the most scalable thing, and it like definitely requires a bunch of effort. But like again, if you're in a situation where you have like 10 accounts and you just need to get a meeting with somebody, like it's a good way to get on somebody's radar.
Did you see back in the day, this is about that same time, 2018, 2019, Stu Heineke's How to Get a Meeting with Anyone?
Yeah.
Contact marketing, man. He was a New York Times cartoonist, and he did the same thing. And we've done some of the same thing. I mean, I think even some of our emails have done the same thing. Created some AI that made everyone a superhero and sent that out for a while. We got some really good results. The problem is it was time consuming, but it's still fun. I love creative projects. Any parting thoughts on that you want to give anyone before we jump off for the session today?
No, just connect with me on LinkedIn, I guess. If anything I said resonated with you, I always like, sort of expanding my reach.
Is your company is it so they are contractually based cold callers?
hmm Yep. 1099s across the board. Some people work more than others. Some people have, other jobs and they just kind of side hustle through us. The nice part about it is that you can pick it up. Um, you can pick up extra cash and you don't have to deal with managing the client. Like my team works around that.
Sorry, my mic keeps getting feedback. Do you work with any agencies?
Um, we don't have any direct partnerships, but I think that we're open to it.
Cool. I might let's talk, dude.
Let's,
Um,
yeah.
Sweet man. Thank you very much for coming on. Thanks for imparting some wisdom. I think the cold calling space is picking up steam again. I think, again, a lot of us are super siloed. Myself, I'm too siloed, right? I wish I could pick up and smile and dial as well as I could write a cold email. And straight up, I can't. It's not often you find someone that can balance those two things, and that's going to be a huge part of the coming year. So there's definitely some questions. Yeah, okay, cool. People are asking about your LinkedIn. But outside of that, man, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. And talk to you soon, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
Cool. Later.
See ya.
Cheers, y'all.